Okay, greetings. If anybody's watching or will watch, this is about the philosophy I developed since I was a teenager and now called non-commutative quantum biology. And Qigong master Jim Nance, he used to talk about the difference between perspective and awareness. Um, Perspective is basically what is your philosophy, your ideology. And in my opinion, as Westerners, we're deeply brainwashed by Platonic philosophy, and um, there was another uh, global warming act or scientist activist who posted about Arnie Nice in his Substack, and Arnie Nice is a deep ecologist who I read um, like 33 years ago, so it's been a while. But he basically blended non-dualism with environmental philosophy, and this was also discussed by Nate Hagens recently. I don't. I used to jokingly call it the white male enlightenment scene, like it was Ken Wilber, and there was like magazines like What is Enlightenment and gurus. I don't I don't know if that's even around much anymore because it was still like when bookstores were a thing with brick and mortar bookstores and magazines being sold in bookstores. But everything now is virtual, and there's a non-duality YouTube channel, but I rarely watch it. They don't come up doesn't come up in my algorithm. They sometimes I'll go to check it out, but the problem with the philosophy of non-dualism in the West is that it ignores this issue of non-commutativity. So if you look, there's something called the Brahmin code, which is actually how the Vedic Brahmin philosophy, the Brahmin cipher is like symmetric logic of mathematics. And basically with symmetric logic, you're supposed to have a one-to-one correspondence between number and symbol, geometric symbol as a variable. Anyway, so people learn math, by the time they're 14 years old, and so they get brainwashed into commutative geometry and they don't even notice it. And this is what the matrix is in my view. And then the our original human culture was based on what I call non-commutative quantum biology, which its axis is the foundation of reality biologically, and it's felt like a magnetic, precognitive anti-gravitational force. And this force was discovered by David Bohm and also Louis de Broglie in the 1920s. Called it the law of phase harmony, and David Bohm called it the quantum potential. And then Basil J. Hiley worked with David Bohm, and he realized it's non-commutative. So you have this asymmetric time from the with the negative frequency from the future, and you can access it through meditation, through deep meditation. So this is how I finished my master's degree. And when you develop spiritual power, you start to feel like electrical signals from civilization. So you're basically tapping into the direct energy of the universe, but realizing it's connected to our grid. our electrical grid as well. And also, since the signals are precognitive, you start to have visions that are more real than being awake. And so this is what they call shamanism also, or the world turned upside down, or it was in the Netflix video recently. I think they call it like the upside down world or whatever, which is kind of related to non-commutativity, but you have this reversal. So this is the demonstration. If you have every zero point of space time has that flip, that twist inherent. So space is inherently curved with the future overlapping with the past. It's more dense than any derivative, so it would be a two-way derivative in mathematics using matrices. But the thing is that it can only be accessed through coherent biophotons in biology, and this is what they call spiritual energy. And so if you don't practice it, you lose it. So you can overuse your energy. You store up this energy in the body, and you store it up in the colon, in the intestines, which is really strange because it's like that's for digesting food normally. So on the when you get really pure, you'd have to do fasting. So the guy I studied with, he fasted and meditated for 28 days nonstop in full lotus with no sleep in a cave in Mount Qingcheng in China, and then he levitated up 9 feet when he got out. And so I've been promoting him online for the past 25 years. His name's Chunyi Lin. He doesn't like me talking about him. He doesn't like to be talked about. But um, let's see. I read about Joseph de Cupertino, who was a Christian saint in the 1600s, and he also levitated when he'd see the photo or image of Mother Mary, and he would worship the female. It's a female energy biologically, so you have to be celibate, and this is why it's so rare to store up the energy, because you have to be celibate both physically and mentally to purify your energy. So that's why these paranormal skills are so rare in modern society, because we're just drenched in the libido to sell stuff, the subconscious drives, and but our original human culture relied on this spiritual training by the males to do healing on the females, and so when you do practice it, you can start to see auras, which I saw. You can see spirits, ghosts as coherent light. You can have precognitive visions. You can have telekinesis, which I experienced, and telepathy, which I experienced, and long distance healing. The precognitive visions are probably the trippiest part of it, but Olivier Costa de Beauregard argued that precognitive force is the origin of quantum physics, and Roger Penrose has also made this claim recently. He's made several talks about this precognitive force, and Basil J. Hiley also called that active information from the future. So my argument has been that there's a secret to sound, to listening in meditation, that enables and explains this precognitive force from the future, and it's explained by basic music theory, and then I was corroborated by Alain Kahn, the French field medal mathematician professor. And he has a lecture called Music of Shapes, where he makes the same explanation about the truth of music theory being non-commutative. So It's like too abstract for even scientists to understand because almost all of science is based on commutative geometry, which is like the Pythagorean theorem and everything else after that. So structurally, the unified field theory in physics is supposed to be based on symmetry, which is commutative geometry.